go, everybody? It's Friday, yes. We are in Dedham. Yep. And jury selection continues. Good. Let me just make sure the audio is okay. And it is. Continues the Karen Reed retrial. I think we're going to be fine. So let's see a number of people. There's Harriet. There's Jane Rice. Wait a minute. Yep. Brenda, who's so wonderful. Ron. Folks, here that you are watching right now. All right, let me change that. We are live, and we're going to be starting our program in just 5 minutes. We are in Dedham. It is, let's see, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, day 4 of jury selection in the Karen Reed retrial. Now, let's see. We see some people. You see some of the reporters coming out in front of the courthouse, and that is, they're hoping to catch if Karen Reed will come out during the break. So now, no guarantee. There is still the gag order in place with the attorneys. I'm going to talk briefly on that, just a little bit. And then we're going to begin in just a moment. So it's nice the sun has come out. We are, all right. The sun has come out, and it's also opening day at Fenway Park. So you can see some of those are some of the reporters, and I'll go through some of the developments that are happening today. We're going to update you on that case. I was just in court. And then jury selection, I am starting to get the feel that it's actually going to continue into next week. More filings. Okay, what's this? Okay, that's what that is. Okay. A lot of motions with this. There we are. All right, and right now, we're going to be starting our program in 3 minutes. And a lot of people are asking me, how can I watch your coverage? Well, we're live right now on YouTube. You can see the reporters gathered. There is Katie Benoit of NBC 10. There's Ted Daniel of Boston 25. Christina Rex of WBZ. Jonathan Hall of Channel 7 is over there. I think I saw Dave. Yeah, there's David from Channel 5. And who did I leave out? Charlie from Mass Live. And this is the reporter coming down from Boston.com. So we're all sitting in the media selection section today. So who knows? We may catch Karen coming out. Now remember, it's also, I keep saying remember, but it's also very different now because of the gag order. So because of that, in the past, the defense attorneys, Alan Jackson and David Yannetti, they would come out and basically do almost, and we're also live on X. There I am. Let me just check the, let's check the audio on X, but I think it's fine as it is. David Yannetti, they would come out. Yeah. Basically. Totally fine. Folks, isn't that amazing? All right. And so I'll update you on that. Also the latest on people, we're all talking about the Michele Romano case. But Karen Reed, still no full jury. I don't think normally you find out at the end of the day. At the end of the day. So let me just double check. All right, East Providence has a missing 5-year-old autistic child. His name is Leo. Last seen wearing a blue Spider-Man outfit. So that's East Providence. Be on the lookout for that. Let's hope he's just wandered away a little bit. Let me just make sure there's no other news that I am missing. That's not going to go anywhere. Oh, wow, look at the guy with the banged up eye, the Woonsocket guy. He was in court. Providence police grabbed him. He's got a huge black eye. I think he was in the hospital. All right, we are standing by for, and there it is, folks, at 106. Oh, and just like that, the media disperses. You are watching This Is the Real News, and we are coming to you live in Dedham, Norfolk County Courthouse, where it is now day 4 of jury selection for the Karen Reed retrial. So what I like to do is next week it switches over. So I as of right now, I don't think I'm going to be up here next week, but we'll see how it goes. Now, when the trial starts, because it's not easy to get inside the courthouse. The courtroom. It's a very small courtroom. So when the trial does in fact start, if I'm not inside, then we'll probably be outside just to catch some of the excitement. But we have plenty of time on that. Certainly the way things are happening right now, we seem to have a lot of. But I'd like to explain right now, as we speak, at 1:07 on this Friday, April 4th, we are live on AM 1380 and 99.9 FM. Now, you can listen on the website, dpetro.com. No eyes. Right at the very top, you just click on Listen Live. But wait, there's more. Now, we're also live on our YouTube channel, and we just hit 54,000 followers. We're also live on Facebook, where we use both pages, and we're about to hit 92,000 followers on our main page, but then we have another additional 8,000 on our personal page. So that's 100,000. And then we're also live on X, where we continue to build our audience, and we're at 18,000. So, and then a lot of people, you may watch this on replay. Some people watch it. It's all on demand, whenever you like. Folks, this portion of our program in depetro.com, which has links to all of our social media. Now, I didn't even mention, sometimes we use clips from this and put them on our TikTok page. Now, TikTok, we have 101,000 followers. And then sometimes we place clips on our Instagram page. Instagram is just about 54,000. So over the period of time, a lot of people see it. A lot of people react to it. I often sometimes wonder, I'll admit, hey, I wonder, are people seeing it? Are they absorbing it? I just saw Karen Reed's father in the courthouse. I'm going to put him down. If this were an election, I'd put him down under undecided. What's the phrase that I would use to describe? Death stare. That's right. Hey, listen, I don't know what to tell you. Nothing. I don't even talk about the parents. So I don't know what that's all about. But folks, I received the nicest message from, let me pull out her name actually. One of our followers that just had last night, not only, let me give her a full shout out, and I love hearing this. I received a nice message from, hold on, I have it. There we go. It is Susan. Susan Richardson had a wonderful meal at the Coesit Inn. And wait, they booked a party of 12 for Easter at the Coesit Inn. 226 Coesit Avenue, West Warwick. They're open 7 days a week. The service is first rate. You should only go there if you like good service. Not everybody, I think it was Director Fahey, not everybody likes good service. I appreciate and like good service. Folks, behind the scenes, there's somebody that keeps everything flying, and there he is, Director Fahey. The guy does a fantastic job. But the Coesit Inn, 226 Coesit Avenue, West Warwick. Remember, they have a large bar. What I like about the Coesit Inn, it's very spacious. I don't like to hear people chewing when I'm trying to enjoy my meal. I don't like to hear anyone chewing. I certainly don't want to hear a stranger chewing. So that's why the Coesit Inn, they know it's nice and spaced out. They try to seat me away from everyone so I don't have people on top of me. But they also have the market at Coesit. But in the bar, It's very spacious. It's a huge bar, as a matter of fact. Stiff drinks. You only want to go there if you like stiff drinks. The Cohasset Inn, 226 Cohasset Avenue in West Warren. So, let me also stay on schedule, because sometimes when I'm out and we're live like this on location, sometimes I get caught up in things. We get off track a little bit, and I have a lot to report. This portion of the program brought to you by Propane Plus. Now remember, in Rhode Island, call Propane Plus today, 401-885-4209. In Massachusetts, 508-252-3359 for Propane Plus. And you can always check their website or log on. It's propaneplus.com. Propane Plus. They do have a gluten-free menu, Carlos. Residential or commercial, you can depend on Propane Plus, and it's so user-friendly. And just type in your zip code. It's Propane Plus. All right, folks, so 111. This has been quite a week. I'll start off. Why not? Since we're in Dedham, and it's opening day at Fenway Park, although I really don't watch baseball anymore. I used to like this. I mean, obviously, like everyone else, I grew up playing baseball, Little League, and then bring my kids to Fenway Park. Lifelong Red Sox fan. Game got a little too slow for my liking, and I don't find any. They need more people on base, as my son said. I like these new bats that the Yankees are using. It seems to add a little more play. Maybe I know they're trying to speed up the game a little bit. You need more people on base. Everything can't be a strikeout or a home run. So, but it is nice. We are in Dedham, and this is the way that I actually go to Fenway. You just jump off and then follow Dedham, and that brings you right to the back way. I find it is the most direct way to get to Fenway Park. Now, let me just touch on the Karen Reed retrial, of which they're going through jury selection. There goes Director Fahey right now, heading back to the courthouse, keeping everything running. They are running very efficient. Now, a couple things. This afternoon, you have people saying that they are suing the judge, and they want to get rid of what I'm in right now, which is they call the buffer zone. I'm telling you, the buffer zone is essential. It's also being misrepresented. It's being presented as though, so that's a public sidewalk. I can't peacefully walk down the sidewalk. There's nothing peaceful. You have a court of law inside. If you were on trial, you would want all attention inside the courtroom, not the circus-like atmosphere that her supporters create outside. So I think it'll fail. It has nothing to do with the judge. It has to do with you're trying to operate. Think of it in golf, when everyone's then quiet when they're going to take a shot. If you're trying to listen to evidence and you're competing with mobs of people outside that are chanting and yelling, what if you're in the jury and you can't hear? And believe me, I'm not denying they would get crowds and they're loud. I think it'll be defeated. I know they don't like that, by the way, but as someone that last spring, and now for this one, of broadcasting outside of the courthouse, I welcome it, because if they didn't have the buffer zone, I wouldn't be able to do this, because you have nonstop people walking around, and they can, at times, they can get pretty aggressive, and then they want to interrupt, and they scream obscenities and so forth. So they make it complicated. So I favor that. I think I saw some discussion where some people are saying, that's un-American. You can't walk down the sidewalk and peacefully protest. I don't know what they're protesting, number one. And number two, there's nothing peaceful about it. It's a ruckus. And they chant, and they blow horns, and they make all kinds of noise to try to distract. And I don't think that's constructive. I'm not against. I've covered many protests. I've led protests on certain things, not in a while, but I have. And so I'm not opposed to that. But this is a court proceeding. This is a serious proceeding, and with a lot at stake. And this is not the bleachers at Fenway. It's not the upper deck at Gillette Stadium. It's supposed to be a court of law. And if you lost a family member, and you were in court on a very serious manner, I don't know how you would feel if there were all these people outside and they're tailgating and they're carrying on like they're ready to go into a sporting event, and it's not a sporting event. So I think they're going to be unsuccessful with that. Also, with now inside, we can tell when they think they have a serious juror because some of the people go up and they're there for 60 seconds. Other people, 15 minutes, even 20 minutes. And then somehow they get knocked out for whatever reason. Both sides can preempt them and just knock them out. So it's a very slow process. They aren't making progress. There were 10 last time I checked. I think they want to be at least 16, if maybe not even a couple more, just to be on the safe side, because it is a long trial. Now, I also, before I jump off it, I do want to touch on that the Reed team, they have also, they're trying to get this heard by the Supreme Court. And again, for many people that don't follow it, it doesn't mean that the Supreme Court is automatically going to take up the case. As a matter of fact, I don't think they are going to take up the case. I remember when Buddy Cianci, the mayor of Providence, said, "I'll take it to the Supreme Court. I'll take it to The Hague," which is in Europe. It failed. The Supreme Court did not take up his case. They're very selective. My impression of covering the Supreme, well, not that I've covered, but when we've covered stories about the Supreme Court, is they look for unique cases involving the law that potentially perhaps have not been decided before, because there's new things that pop up. So with this, it doesn't, I know to her supporters they think it does, but I don't think it fits it. To me, this is another example that the Karen Reed defense is trying to delay the trial, because I don't think they like the track that this thing is on. I also, just a reminder to people, you can be a supporter. Being a supporter of her doesn't mean that's a license to be vile and rude and insult people and name call. Like, I get that's part of the whole ammo. That's part of the whole scene. It's like a free pass. It's kind of, some people, young college kids, spring break is an excuse to, party and no accountability and drink a lot. And many of the Karen Reed supporters, they view it as, if I'm a supporter, that means I can be crude, I can be vile, I can use foul language, I can insult people. Like they think that's, for whatever reason, one of the perks that goes with being a supporter. I'm just telling you, it's not going to be tolerated. There are other platforms, by the way, that will tolerate it. There's other platforms that they call the mother of Officer O'Keefe horrible names. They call the judge horrible names. This is not one of them. This is not one of them. Meaning, this is not one of the platforms. Folks, I want to remind you about Kids Club on the Pike. Now, Kids Club on the Pike, don't forget, their summer camp is coming up. Birthday parties, before and after school programs, summer camp. But Kids Club on the Pike, they have summer camp. Call now, reserve a space for your child this summer, and maybe it's for a week, maybe it's for a month, maybe it's for the whole summer. Kids Club on the Pike. Call Kristen, 401-443-5336. This is a legitimate question. Where are they located? Right off of 295 on the Cranston-Johnson line. It's Kids Club on the Pike. So whether it is a birthday party or a teen party or before after school care, preschool, but right now, reserve the spot for your child or grandchild at Kids Club on the Pike. Contact Kristen at 401-443-5336 for Kids Club on the Pike. Now, I also just want to touch on the situation with Karen Reed and her supporters. And there are certain people that, and I want to just be very clear about something. Many times to me, some of her, and I run into this, some of her supporters, they think that they are entitled to, as they would describe it, like freedom of speech. And so But I just want to be very clear. I run a certain platform in a certain language that I think is inappropriate. Many of her supporters, they think that there are no rules on language. And they don't even realize it. And I'll provide an example. Many years ago, if there was, I've talked about this, we had Special Olympics on, and they had a campaign to retire the word, and it begins with an R, and it is something that a derogatory term that people would use about someone, but parents and those with special needs found it an offensive term. So they had a campaign, retire the R word, the term. And so there was a decision made, and that's why you don't see it really in film anymore, and you don't hear it on television. And excuse me, I'm sorry. Look, we just lower live broadcast. That's all. I'm not trying to interfere. Yes. So, it's just out of courtesy. That's all. So, folks, just to be clear, that type of language, I think, there are people that don't even understand it's offensive to use the R word. And the only point that I'm making is they can go about and say and do whatever they want, but that doesn't mean that we have to provide a platform for it. And so when I see people and they insist, for whatever reason, that they want to post the R word, I mean, first of all, we use a filter on most platforms that doesn't allow it. But for some people, they're like oblivious to it. And it's much like there are some people that don't realize anything they post has obscenities in it. And so they don't even realize that maybe there's certain language you shouldn't use in certain scenarios. I really don't care about that, but it's embarrassing to me on one of the pages if we have people that are using certain language in a derogatory manner towards certain people. So, and to me, this is just my opinion, if you're one of those individuals and you don't even realize that throwing around the R word is offensive to parents of special needs children, it's offensive to special needs adults, it's offensive to anyone that works in that. If you shrug that off, or you feel like I can say whatever I want, like that type of thing, then that's fine. But it's like I find it embarrassing if I ever see comments like that. So I just want to be very clear about that. And also, it's not a matter of I have no interest, to be clear. If you use certain language, I have no interest in what your opinion is. If you don't realize that using the R word, even if you're, people and I see it as hashtag, then it's not my role to explain that to you, is what I'm trying to say. Folks, this portion of the program is brought to you by Watson Materials. Now, on a sunny day like this in the spring, and it's about time we get some sun, Watson Materials, South County Trail, East Greenwich. You can call Sean for a free quote, 401-885-0600, 401-885-0600, Watson Materials. Landscape lighting, pavers, retaining walls, natural stone, cobblestone, decorative stone, Watson Materials. Call them and request a quote today, 401-885-0600, 401-885-0600 for Watson Materials. Now, folks, let me also mention, I practice what I preach. Many of you, when you'll see we're out at a crime scene and some of the television people are going live, I either lower my voice or I actually take a break and go a minute without talking. And so, to me, my opinion, it's just, I do that out of common courtesy to whoever it is that's working, and then they're live and filing a report. So, I don't think I'm making extraordinary demands when I try to just alert someone we're doing a live broadcast, and then they're just loudly talking. Many times people will say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize." Right? Like many times we get the whole thing. "Oh, are you live?" For whatever reason, I was just watching you in my car. "Oh, are you live?" But you never hear me if we're out at a live scene and channel 10 or 12 say, "Hey, I'm about to go live at whatever 6 or whatever time." I don't talk loudly. I don't say it's my right to, no. It's like a basic respect of common courtesy thing. Apparently, not everyone understands that. As this person started like hollering. So, but I take it more as some people sometimes they're unaware of how loud they can be, and then you really you find it something like this. There's all kinds of occasions like that. There's someone at an airport and everyone's sitting quietly at a gate, and there's someone that just for no apparent reason starts talking loudly. And to me, they're unaware, they're ignorantly unaware how loud they are being. And it's just I count. Not trying to be confrontational, but all we can do is offer. Could you lower your voice a little bit? But this is in the buffer zone. If they didn't have the buffer zone, it becomes next to impossible without, all hell breaking loose. Folks, that's why I thank God for the Massachusetts State Police. This portion of the program is brought to you by Arch Design Builders. Now, they're going to be at the home show coming up. We're going to start to do the countdown on that. You can meet them. You can see their booth, make contact with them. Arch Design Builders, Ed and Roxanne. You can call them at 401-207-4124. So maybe it's time for new kitchen. Maybe it's time for new bathroom. Maybe it's time for new basement or deck. Arch Design Builders. You're going to love working with them. And it's very exciting. And they're going to help you, on your journey. Call Roxanne, 401-218-9707, 401-218-9707 for Arch Design Builders. Well, folks, good afternoon. Now, again, right now at 1:28, we are coming to you from Dedham, and it is jury selection continues with the Karen Reed trial, and it's quite a process. They're not there yet. I think they're getting closer, but you don't know. And there's been a lot of attention on this case, and it's only going to build. It depends. If you watch Court TV, first of all, we get to be on with the fabulous, brilliant Julie Grant. But someone like Vinny Politan, he calls it, it's going to be the retrial of the century. And it's going to generate a lot of talk. I've done this before, I implore people, if you really are new to the case, want to follow the case, there's all kinds of distractions. You want to follow what happened at that moment when Boston Police Officer John O'Keefe stepped out of the vehicle, and what happened in that couple of minutes, and then what happened in the hours after that. My opinion, all this other stuff that people allege, I just think it's noise. And I do see people put remarks or comments about things that I just consider to be irrelevant and distractions. It starts with that. There's plenty of evidence out there. There's a lot of falsehoods with this case. There's a lot of false information. I don't think that the defendant, Karen Reed, I don't think she has the true support that some people portray that she does, because to me, so much of it is built on a lie. And it's really not a solid foundation on how it's built, and that makes what makes it extraordinary. So and this is not a perfect analogy, but as much as, like many other people, the summer of 2020 with George Floyd and the BLM protests, some of that may have been rooted in truth, which was, actually, I'm not convinced a lot of it, but it was real that people of color felt that, I didn't say it was real, but that they were being treated differently because of their skin color. And that motivated all those protests. But then when you back up, there seemingly was more going on with George Floyd than what the initial outrage was. And by the way, when you talk about Black Lives Matter, that started off of a lie. I mean, I remember when that started, not to go on a tangent here, but that started with the case with Michael Brown, where the word was that he put up his hands and said, "Don't shoot." And then we later learned that he was actually going for the officer's gun. So all of the protests and the screaming and the destruction and everything else, George Floyd, in some way, that's kind of an example of it, because it really seemed that he had drugs, he ingested the drugs, and then sadly, died on drugs in police while he was being detained by the police. But the Michael Brown case really started off people that were not credible, that claimed, remember in St. Louis, that he has hands up and he was saying, "Don't shoot." And that just rocketed everywhere. And that was actually not what happened. He was fighting with a police officer and was going for the officer's gun. All right, now I do want to talk about the Michele Romano case, but folks, we want to stay on schedule. And I want to also remind you, when disaster strikes, call Serve Pro of Providence. And we never know when disaster could strike. We don't. But you can call them at 401-941-5500. Why would you call Serve Pro of Providence? Fast, thorough, professional. If you have a fire, if you have water damage, you want Serve Pro of Providence. I share their Facebook page. This is who I would call. There's a number of companies out there that are not reliable, that don't have the credibility and experience of Serve Pro of Providence. But Serve Pro of Providence, call them 401-941-5500. And as I've said, when you see us out and we're on road patrol and there's some kind of a commercial fire, that is who they should be calling. Remember, restoration, reliability, results. Serve Pro of Providence. Call them 401-941-5500. Serve Pro of Providence. Now, I also want to remind you, maybe it's time for a new roof. We're going to get a lot of rain over the next couple of days. Roof Co. Rhode Island. Call them 401-868-7149. 401-868-7149. Roof Co. Rhode Island. Now, maybe it's from a leaky roof. Maybe you have water damage. Maybe you have granules in the gutter. Damaged chimney flashing. Roof Co. Rhode Island. Call them 401-868-7149. Free estimate. Take advantage of the free estimate with Roof Co. Rhode Island. 401-868-7149. Well, folks, 1:34 Friday afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Coming to you outside of the Dedham Courthouse, where jury selection continues with the Karen Reed retrial. Now, this started Tuesday, so Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Started Tuesday, so day 4. Well, I haven't seen if there's another update. I believe they have 10 jurors, and then they'll get closer to, maybe it'll be, now remember, there's 12 jurors, maybe they'll have 4 alternates. Maybe they'll have 6 alternates. I don't know. Maybe more. But it sure seems now this is going to go into, it seems right now, it's going to go into Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week. Maybe the entire week or something. We don't know. But very, very Um, Interesting part of the process. Obviously, the case has gotten, a lot of attention, so it's definitely more of a challenge in trying to find people who have not formed an opinion on the case. But where this is going to be a very different case is the prosecutor is really powerful. Hank Brennan, special prosecutor, and he is really dynamic. The guy he's just very talented. And by the way, the defense attorneys are also talented. So it's an interesting trial for those. And I do think it's good. I'll tell you what, I like covering trials because some stories just go on ad nauseum. They go on forever, like the bridge situation. What I like about a trial, and why I've always liked covering them, is there's a beginning, there's a middle, and there's an end, unless there's, in this case, a retrial. But much like you decide to go to a movie, you know ahead of time the movie is, 2 hours. The movie's 2 hours and 9 minutes. You make the decision, we're going to go see the movie. What I like traditionally about a court case is the fact that there is a beginning, a middle, and it is going to end at some point. You're going to reach some conclusion. However, in a situation like this, obviously with the retrial. But I advise people that there was a docuseries on HBO, Body in the Snow, and that was part of the whole thing. But just watch and hold judgment until you see the way this is put on. I just think they're going to have the Commonwealth, the prosecution, they're going to have a much sharper case. They're going to have someone that's going to re-explain, an accident reconstructionist that will explain what happened. They've also have better technology to determine where he was at that time. I think it's just going to be a very different case. I think it's a stronger case that they're going to make. I think they're going to crystallize the argument they're going to make with the case, and I think they're going to have more people, I believe, have more people realize that this is actually a simpler case than maybe a lot of people have been told. Now, I do have people asking me about the Michele Romano case, and I do want to touch on that, and I'm going to do it right now. But I also want to remind you folks, don't forget our friends, Hill Skeffington Funeral Home. Now, they had that terrible fire, but they are ready to serve you. And you need someone you can depend on in a moment of need. Hill Skeffington Funeral Home and Cremations. That's who you want to deal with. You can call them at 401-884-9222. It is true. They did have a tough fire, but they're open and they're operating and they have a temporary space. It's actually a beautiful temporary space. Hill Skeffington. You see them on Chalkstone Avenue, Skeffington Funeral Home, and they're on Main Street, East Greenwich. Hill Skeffington Funeral Home, because you need someone in a situation like that to, I would say, handle everything. Now, as far as Michele Romano, well, the police have now left the house. There's not been an announcement from state police on where things stand with the individual that lives in the house. So now we're just going to have to wait. Now, this is April 4th. This could be a while. Are they going to arrest that person? We don't know. Is that person cooperating? We don't know. What did they find when they went in They arrived Tuesday night, so Tuesday night, all day Wednesday, and then they were gone last night. So that's still a long time to be in executing a search warrant. And, what they find and how that may tie in with how she was found. I actually saw someone post something saying, I feel so bad she's missing. She's no longer missing. Now, she's not alive, but they found her. I don't know what to make of that. They found her remains. They're calling it a suspicious death. And now they have to piece together exactly how she ended up there. Now, it's my understanding the individual who lives in that house, I don't know what he told police. I don't know what he said he knows. I don't know. This one, I don't know if he's a suspect. I agree. I admit that they were seemingly going through that house very thoroughly, but I don't know. We don't know what they were looking for. We don't know if they were just trying to cover all bases. We don't. There's a lot. Are they finding something, or did they find something on the property or in the house that somehow correlates and matches Michelle's body that they found in Foster just about a week ago? I don't know that, but it does seem to be moving rapidly. Now, there's also, we don't know what kind of digital footprint they're looking for, but I do know, there's, and it's so hard on the family, but there's no clock on this. So they're going to work on the Michele Romano case until they get a clear picture of how she ended up dead in that ravine or creek or ditch in Foster. How did she get there? When was she placed there? How did that happen? Did she die somewhere else and end up there? We don't know that. And I also want to use this as an opportunity to remind people, and again, people can disagree, but standing behind me, is the courthouse in Dedham with the Karen Reed retrial. Right now they're going through jury selection. And right now, over there, and you can see them, are members of the Massachusetts State Police. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. No, I don't think they're all corrupt. There are some people that just run around screaming corruption. Everything's rigged. All cops are corrupt. I don't believe that. And I'll even go a step farther with the Reed case. So you had that trooper that lost his job, Michael Proctor. Here's a news bulletin. Police officers, when they're arresting a suspect that they feel are responsible for the death of someone, they don't exactly describe them in flattering terms. On top of that, when you have someone who was a police officer, they're much less inclined to describe them in those types of terms. Several years ago, there was a vicious murder, and I don't know what happened. It still hasn't gone to trial yet, but there was a vicious murder on the Cranston-Providence line of someone that allegedly killed his girlfriend. And I know that it was a gruesome scene. And I can assure you, when they made the arrest, they weren't describing the boyfriend who was the suspect in flattering terms. I don't know how the officers were describing things. If an officer texted a family member that said, "Hey, I'm running late tonight because this troubled young man seems to have committed an act of violence," I doubt that's what the Cranston police put. I'm sure it was, "I'm working on a case with this," and I don't, but this nutcase, this animal, this loser, stabbed his girlfriend to death. And I'm sure the way they were talking about the individual. So, I know some people, again, that never follow this stuff, but the idea that a trooper spoke negatively about a suspect, I regard that as like, what world have you been living in? What rock have you been living under? All right, folks, hold on. You know what Friday means. It means to talk to the Queen of Health. And there it is. And there she is, I should say. Oh, hold on. I just had her. There we go. Hold on 1 second, Marie. You are. And there she is. It's the Queen of Health on this Friday. Good afternoon, Marie.
Hi, John. Getting some sunshine, huh? Oh, good.
Yes.
Got the shades on today.
Yes, the sun is out. finally, but we still have a lot of rain coming this weekend, Marie. But what items do you have for us, folks? It's Marie at It's My Health, 1099 Mendon Road in Cumberland. What items do you have for us on this Friday, Queen of Health?
Good afternoon, everyone. Started to think about everyone getting outside, wanting to do a little yard work, start to prepare the garden, maybe clean a few things before all the growth. And I said, guess what that means? That means that people will get themselves into poison ivy before it even
Right.
has leaves. Easy enough. You just touch one of those little branches and you can end up with poison ivy. So what can you do? So obviously protect yourself, long sleeves, gloves, all of that. And you have to be careful even then when you're done touching all of that stuff, your gloves and your clothes to make sure that you don't get any of that nourishment in your food. Soap, ivy tends to grow near poison ivy, and it is the antidote to it. So if you wash up really well, scrub really well with the jewel weed soap, there's a few different brands out there. There's something, we carry this one, the jewel weed soap. Just clean up really well, and a lot of times, that can help. Even some alcohol, on your hands or where you might have touched, and just get cleaned up. But if you do get poison ivy, we do have things, we have a salve that works. We have, liquid that you can spray on to dry it up to keep it from itching. And we have stuff that you take. So homeopathically, there's a remedy called roost tox. Roost tox is poison ivy, but in the homeopathic form, it helps to relieve the symptoms. We use root tox too for people who have stiff joints, but they're better once you're moving around. So we do root tox all year long, but it's interesting, it is actually poison ivy. But when you take this after you've been exposed, or you can even take it prophylactically, you can take a pellet of it before you go out, and it might help if you do get yourself into trouble. My husband got poison ivy one year in the middle of winter because he was digging up some roots, and he
Wow.
took his glove off, and there was a root there, and he said, how did I get poison ivy in the middle of winter? I said, because you were digging in the dirt where there was poison ivy. But oral things too, and this, you'll find if you look at a remedy like this that it does have roost tox and some other things in it that can help to shorten the duration of, that some people get it really bad, some people not so bad. But this is the time of year we're not thinking about it because we don't have leaves, to show us that, oh boy, that's poison ivy, but you can get it this time of year.
Marie, I am sitting in court next to people that are suffering brutally from allergies. What would you recommend at It's My Health?
I love the homeopathics because they're pretty quick. Someone who gets a lot in their sinuses, we have a really nice formula that you take 2 of them and within 20 minutes you can breathe. It was put together by a pharmacist. It's all herbal. It's very, very nice, works well. We have the X-Clear spray, so spraying that into your nose, it'll make you have to blow your nose, but what it's doing is cleaning out a lot of that pollen. It works really, really well. It's also good if you're exposed to people who have colds or some kind of gook going on. It became popular during COVID because they were recommending to spray every single night, and it would kill, any virus that you might have come in contact with. But that really does help to clear out your sinuses. The homeopathics, a few herbals, quercetin and nettles are a good formula. Starting quercetin now, getting on it. I'm taking it a couple times a day now just to make sure, that everything is good. But that can help to relieve symptoms too.
Now, Marie, it is Friday. What's on tap for Super Saturday at It's My Health, 1099 Mendon Road in Cumberland?
So we have our wonderful Pilates classes going on and a really restorative yoga class in the morning. And then the afternoon is all me. And we can look at some products that might be helpful for whatever you have going on.
You are the Queen of Health. Keep up the good work, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thank you, John. Take care.
All right, folks, there it is. Marie at It's My Health, 1099 Mendon Road in Cumberland. And okay, and there we go. There is Marie. All right, now look at that. Now, folks, again, I want to just reset because right now, you're just checking, it's 1:50. It's Friday afternoon. This is the real news. Now, we do this live each weekday from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock. Now, at that time, you can listen on the radio. We're live right now on AM 1380 and 99.9 FM. You can always listen online at the website, which is depetro.com, and then you can watch it, as a lot of people are doing, on either X or on our Facebook page or on YouTube. So now, on top of that, this is also a time, as people, you may or may not realize, but this is the weekends are actually a busy time because that's when Road Patrol Live kicks into action. We will be active tonight. I anticipate, now depending on weather, I need to actually check the weather because I did see that we're going to be, now, right now this is beautiful out. This is the nicest day, and it's been such a terrible spring. Let me just quickly, wow, 65 degrees here in Dedham. This is fantastic. And looking around the region, 66 in Providence. But I want to just check. So tomorrow there's definitely going to be rain, but it says 80% chance, but it must be late afternoon and nighttime. We're going to see. I also see Sunday rain. I see Monday rain. I say Tuesday possibly snow, and then Wednesday sunshine. So with Road Patrol Live, folks, it's going to depend on how things pan out, I should say. At 1:52 on this Friday, the individual that led the police on the chase, I want to commend police that they did catch that individual. And I mean, that guy, that was a pretty wild story with him on the highway and so forth. And I also wanted to mention that I have been in touch. Police arrest man wanted out of Woonsocket chase, and boy, he's a mess in court. You can see his face. There's the Channel 12 story with that. So, but everybody has that photo. So I think he went right to the hospital when they got him. And I don't know exactly how that happened. I also want to take a moment. One of the greatest people around, what time is it? 1:53 on this Friday. Folks, one of the greatest people is, one of our sponsors is the Lodge Pub and Eatery, right in Lincoln. And David, who is the owner, who is just so fantastic. Sympathies and condolences go out to him and his wonderful family. His brother passed away. And I want to just, David, owner of of K's and the Lodge, and he posted, growing up in a big family was interesting. I had a choice of working at Almax, too young, working with George, who was a mechanic, another one of his brothers, not for me, or working with John at Vermet's. Glad I followed his footsteps. John just was my brother, but was my best friend and business partner. He passed away peacefully, surrounded by family, and there is the obituary and the services we held at Holt Funeral Home. I just think the world of David, and what I wanted to acknowledge that. And we're thinking of David and his wonderful family, and just I love the way he framed that of as siblings, and then when they became business partners, that's a real tight relationship, and they were in fact business partners. So our condolences go out. Thank you, Tuesday Gazette. Well said. I was shocked to see people using that derogatory word, but I started engaging case on the social media. I don't understand it, folks. And it's not a matter of, and I use different, listen, no one has ever accused me of being, it's not being approved, but it's people that, and what gets me is they're unaware how offensive it is. There's some people that they're intentionally offensive. But I don't know, you can make your point about whether it's the Karen Reed story or other stories, but I just don't understand why you have to drag in and offend either special needs adults, special needs children, and or their parents and family. And there are people that I routinely see that. And once in a while, I receive a message from someone saying like, "Hey, what happened to my comment didn't get posted?" And then I'll actually waste time and look, and it's under hidden comment because I have the R word as a filter. Again, if you use that language, like whatever, man, you think I care? But go away. But you're not going to post it under our postings. I find it embarrassing and offensive. And what just stands out to me is these people don't even realize it's being offensive. It's not. It's not even that they're using certain slang or obscenities or derogatory language. It's why do you have to use that type of language? And I also want to mention, listen, when people ask me, as we're outside, and I'm going to go back in at 2 o'clock, jury selection continues with the Karen Reed case. But anyone that calls the mother of Officer O'Keefe and the judge the type of names that they call them, I don't relate to it. I don't understand it. I think the world of Peg O'Keefe. I think the world of Paul O'Keefe. They're a wonderful family. I look forward to seeing them once the trial starts. They have been through hell. And I like that people are pointing out that the real victim here was Officer John O'Keefe and his family, not the person that tries to portray herself as a victim. And by the way, once again, they're all matching. Karen Reed is matching with her new bestie, the juror turned defense attorney, and then one of their supporters is also, I don't know what to make of it, maybe it's a thing, but they're all like matching. A little strange, but hey, whatever. Folks, this portion of the program, remember, we're live each weekday from 1 to 2 right here on whatever platform you're watching. Is brought to you by Quality Asphalt Seal Coating. Call them today, 401-283-9815. Now, what can they do for you? Call Corey. They can epoxy garages and patios, decorative concrete flooring. They resurface sports courts, pickleball, tennis, basketball. They'll make your pavement look like new. Call Corey, 401-283-9815. Quality Asphalt Seal Coating. Call them. Request a quote. 401-283-9815. Get that basketball court done. Get the tennis court done. Get the pickleball court done. Or get the epoxy garages and patios. Decorative concrete flooring. Quality Asphalt Seal Coating. 401-283-9815. Well, folks, as we're coming up on 159, and I'm going to return inside the courtroom. Listen, I'm very happy that the sun is out. I want to once again point out that I feel terrible for the family of Michele Romano. We're going to follow that case. We're going to follow that case until there is justice in that case, to whoever put her in foster in that ditch is held accountable. We're going to follow that case and many other cases as well. I want to thank everybody for a great week. Thank you to JR. It's not easy when we take the show on the road. If you're listening to the radio, stay tuned, because coming up at 2 o'clock, you're going to hear the 2 o'clock news. Everybody else online, we'll be back later with Road Patrol Live. So we're going to send it back to JR from Dedham. Enjoy this weekend.